That would be awesome. Who wants to see a projector set up with a drawing demonstration? That's what I'm all about. You, where are you going? I'm going to speak. Write that down. Oh, awesome. Eric's here. So that's one of my questions, is who wants to be a comic book artist? Raise your hand. Who just wants to be a regular anything artist? Oh, that's a good number. I mean, there's so many opportunities to create artists. One more question, a couple more questions. Who draws traditionally? Does everybody know what that means? That's it. So basically, it breaks down into two different categories. There's digitally and traditionally. Who likes to draw on the iPad? Strictly. Who likes to draw with a pencil and a pen on actual paper?
Does a drawing tablet count?
I'm not prejudiced. Like it's all drawing. Honestly, I'm kind of scared to venture into that stuff. And even I don't even color on the drawing that I actually make. So I color digitally. So I'm not here to badmouth one way or the other. But
what are you talking about?
I don't know. I'm just breaking.
What's our subject matter down?
We got a couple of people who want to be comic book artists.
Right.
So they raise their hands, and a lot of artists in here in general.
How many of you are actually publishing your own stuff now, or at least printing your own books?
Who here knows about Kickstarter or any other self-publishing type platform that helps you fund your projects? That's a lot of people. Who has their own characters right now? Oh. Who wants to draw like Superman, Batman, and they don't really care for making their own characters just yet? Who wants to draw for the big companies? Ooh, that's cool. Not hardly anything. Because I have a lot of my own characters, and so does Eric. He has a lot of his own characters. There was a long time where all I cared about was drawing other people's stories, but I just turned 42, and now I don't want to draw for anybody else. It's so random. It seemed like it happened all of a sudden, but it's such a big deal because so many people approach me and they ask me to draw something cool for them. I'll draw a couple of things for them. And then I'll look at them and I'll be like, man, I don't want to give you any of these things. I want to keep all of them for myself. So sometimes I'll hope that they don't pick certain images, but I don't know. It's so random. As far as like breaking into the industry, I'm just gonna start off by telling you, there's one thing that I scoffed at for years, and it's networking. And I just can't tell you enough about, it's really all about who you know, as far as like helping you get acquainted with certain companies and publishers and individuals and stuff. So I'm just gonna start off by saying networking. And because I'm horrible at social media. How are you at social media?
I'm awful at social media.
I thought you'd balance me.
No, I'm amazing at social media. Is that what you're waiting for?
Yeah, I can't figure out. I try to keep up with 6 different inboxes on, between YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all those other ones. And so, who here likes Instagram? Who has an Instagram account?
Do you guys often leverage your social media? Anything like that? Because if the concept is how to break into indie publishing, is that what we're doing?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so the concept of breaking into indie publishing, I'm significantly older than that. I feel like a dinosaur compared to him. I'll give you guys context. So when I first started publishing on my own, there was no such thing as like Kickstarter. There's no such thing as print on demand. So if you wanted to print your own comics, you would have to pay top dollar for it. The only way it could ever get out to anybody is through diamond distributors. You would have to buy space into their spots. You'd hope that some retailer would pick it up and carry it in their stores. I fast forward to now when I'm publishing my own book, and I think, and I say this as an old geezer telling kids to get off my lawn, okay? You guys have it so much easier than I ever did when I first started. Because all these avenues were not available to me in as far as bringing awareness, and I think that's where Matt is coming from. The networking part is a small component of it. All these avenues that were not available to me, available to you right now. And ultimately what you want to do, whatever capacity, is to have somebody pay attention to your work, right? I think that's but there's so many avenues that there are levers that you could pull in order so that people will pay attention to your work. So social media is definitely one of them. And I think one of the more beneficial ones, at least for me, is because oftentimes people are not just supporting your book, your title, your characters, your stories. They're supporting you as a creator. And YouTube has opened that up as far as how they can see you as a viable individual to go, I not only like their art, their words, whatever, their publication, but I also like them as an individual, and I would love to be able to help contribute to bring them up to whatever they need. So YouTube is definitely one thing that you can lean on pretty robustly, significantly. Twitter is a trash fire, but I understand the necessity of Twitter, right? As long as you do your very best, and here's something else that you can probably put in your back pocket. If you get caught up in any social media, it can get toxic very, very quickly. Depending on your age group, you might not want to be in that space. But here's something that I tell my friends anytime I hear them complain about, oh my gosh, insert social media here, and it sounds and feels so bad. You're in control of that. You can absolutely curate your social media so it gives you the experience that you want from it, right? So that it doesn't feel like it's this daunting thing of negativity all the time. And I give that away to you for free. Curate your social media.
Who here knows Photoshop really well, or at least a little bit, or is thinking about messing around with it? Good. I can't tell you enough about trying to learn the ins and outs of Photoshop, because I'm starting to learn lettering just for the first time in a long time, because I want to start messing around with lettering. I thought about drawing my own words on the pages a little bit too, and now I'm starting to worry about lettering, but I can't tell you enough about Photoshop. One of the coolest things that I'm excited to show you is you get on YouTube, you get in Photoshop, and you make your images, and I sent this image into a t-shirt company, and I had this t-shirt made, just like last week, you know? There's so many different, dismount. There's so many different websites where you can submit your artwork, simple graphics, that you do a simple little YouTube search, and it'll teach you what to save the file as in Photoshop, and you just upload the image to a t-shirt shop website, and you can have send people there to buy them, and you'll get a little bit of income, and you make it for yourself or whatever. You know, it's just so wacky. There's so many cool things to do. But, you know, as far as like graphics design, so you know, all the people who are not interested in being comic book artists, you know, it really doesn't matter. There's so many things you can do. Like who here wants to be a manga artist or like an anime specialist? I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a term. I like the My Hero stuff. I dig it. I need to start season 5, but anyways. Be thinking of any questions too as we're just rambling on.
I was going to say, eventually we're going to open it up to having answering your questions, and I think this makes things more organic.
And who here wants to do like animation? Oh snap! I see multiple hands being raised up. Animation is tricky. Who here wants to do 3D stuff? 3D animation. Holy cow! It's so fun because right now it's like I have my comic book characters, and Eric has a bunch of his comic book characters. So maybe I won't do it, but I'm looking for 3D modelers right now because I want to get statues made of my comic book characters. Like, I'm starting to get obsessed about it, you know? Seeing some of my characters get brought to life in statues and stuff like that. So there's just so many different things to consider, you know, and so many, like, I'm at the point where I like to color a little bit. I think, Eric, you color everything you draw, right? I need to get on to the next thing, so I hire, not Eric because he's doing his own thing, but I hire color specialists. That's not a word. Colorists, comic book colorists, whatever.
What was the first thing you said?
To work on,
color specialist?
yeah, I like that.
We're going to hold on to that for a little.
to work for me so I can get on to the next page. So if you're going to be a comic book artist or just a regular artist, it really doesn't matter. You don't have to be a colorist, but I mean, it's really sad because all the best colorists, they draw themselves, and so they're like, I don't know how to color your stuff. I'm going to color my stuff. It's hard to find good colorists out there. But if there's any, okay, let me just start by saying, a publisher that I'm working for right now is like being really hardcore about the submissions that they get. And if you're going to consider being a comic book artist or get anything published, I want to say that probably the best practice that you can do is to already have an entire issue or entire book done before you even approach the publisher. Like the publishers that I'm messing with right now, you can't just go up to them and say, hey, I want to do a story about this and this and this. They're just going to tell you, well, go make it, produce it, and then come back and talk to me. You know, like you have your work ready to rumble before you approach anybody.
Speaking of which, how many of you are interested in publishing your own work? Okay, how many of you have actually looked into how much any and all of that costs? Is it still approachable for you?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like, so publishing your own work, you realize how much everything costs, and you're like, whoa, I can't do this, right? Crowdfunding was not available to me. It was not. It was like, and it was, at most, it was like a nice little dream to have, and now it's generally available to you. How you make that crowdfunding work, if you should decide to go down that route, is make yourself as accessible as possible. Everybody needs to understand where you're coming from, the passion that you have for the projects that you're doing. And I think getting that kind of buy-in from an audience may not end up paying for everything, but it may take the brunt of the impact as far as that original price tag is concerned. You guys have priced everything out? Because I'll tell you the truth. When I first thought of, I'm going to go publish my book, Arc Athena, I had zero idea how much anything was going to cost. Zero idea. And then the tally, the numbers started racking up. So because I was in those chairs with you when I was having these kinds of rooms, I'll just give you exact numbers so you guys want to hear those numbers. Okay, so I'm not paying myself to draw Arc Athena.
The numbers specialist.
That's $0, right? So effectively I'm doing the book for free. My colorist is $75 per page times 48 pages per book times 6 books. I don't know math, but it's a lot, right? My editor is, per book, charges about $3,000 times 6 books. My letterer is $75 or $25 per page times 48 pages times 6 books. So it starts to add up really, really quick, and we haven't even printed it yet, right? So my book is 64 pages, hardcover, nice paper, UV gloss. And by the time it comes back from the printer, the bill is something like $19K. The reason why I'm telling you all of this is because it's important to understand where your jumping off point is and where you can start understanding where can I start shaving off some of these costs. To that point, if you can do everything, right, draw, color, letter, oh my gosh, your budget just became like nil, right? So if the concept or the conversation is about like, how do you break into independent comics, you have to think of yourself as a one-person industry, at least in the very beginning, until you can get enough sort of funding and traction under your feet so you can start hiring out to people. Is that helpful to anyone? I don't mean to like scare you guys, but that's the reality, right?
Those are super good points. I want to piggyback off some of those things. So one of the biggest considerations I think that I've come to terms with in making your own title is like logo design. So there's big money to be made in logo design, but I just made my logos for my books myself. And let me just tell you right now, any novelist or writer of any kind, I've heard that the thing that they spend the most money on is the logo and the cover. Those are like two big, I can't even stress that enough. The coolest thing you're gonna see is the logo to the title of your book. You want that cover to like sing and stand out amongst all the other books on the shelf. You want that logo to be like as blinging as possible. So I mean, there's just a weird topic of focus, but cover design and logo design are gonna be huge in trying to pitch and sell your book, catch somebody's eye, you know. Yeah.
Can I ask, how many of you feel confident about your guys' business acumen? Pretty confident. That's wonderful. I wish I had you guys in my corner when I first started. Only because I had zero business acumen, right? It doesn't stop at the production end. The production end, after all those dollars that I just said just now, that's actually the easy part. And I know that seems a little weird because you're looking at dollar symbols and you're like, whoa, that's unapproachable depending on where you are financially in your life. But really, it's got a whole lot more to do with how you get that book into as many people's hands as possible. So conventions like these, I think local conventions like these are really a powerful tool when it comes to getting the decent word of mouth that you need for any titles, for your title to succeed. So look at these opportunities, to that point earlier, not just as a networking opportunity, but obviously as an awareness campaign, right? Sometimes you're going to end up eating costs because you just want those books in as many people's hands as possible.
Good point.
In as far as like before profitability. Now, I hope for each and every single one of you right off the gate, you guys are gazillionaires and you'll remember us because then we'll be coming to you for work. But between now and then, please, just don't think of it like, oh, the book is done, it's going to take care of itself. I know more than a handful of creators who thought that just getting the book done was enough. It's not. You really have to get that book out into other people's hands.
So who has a name, a title for their creator-owned books? You got good names? Let me tell you, you have to have awesome names. Like think of the coolest, craziest name. I just named one of my books Super Deluxe. Like I don't even know why, but I just liked it, and I came up with a cool logo. Like Super Deluxe. Why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, have fun with it. You know, it doesn't have to be on the nose all the time, but I can't tell you enough. Logo design, something that's going to stand out, and have it a cool name. I've never really thought about like, oh, somebody wants the name of their book to start with an A, so it'll be at the top of the list, you know, or something like that. That might be beneficial. I don't really know. It's maybe somewhere in the middle of the shelf, you know, depending on. I don't know. Every comic book's interesting. I've heard so many wacky stories, but listen to me. I can't stress this enough. Cool name, cool logo design. Your covers have to like really stand out. You know, best thing ever. I'm just want to reiterate. Be thinking of any questions if you want. I'm gonna clam up here in a second, but by just saying that, if you can, the more you can do for yourself, the better off you'll be. But make as many friends as possible. Network. Friends that can help you juggle certain tasks and keep the work going. You know, if you're just a script writer, who's just a writer and is looking for artists? Very cool. I mean, sometimes you may be like a super writer. You want to draw one thing yourself and write 3 other books for other artists to draw. You know. Keeping stuff in the pipeline all the time, you know. There's just so many things to this wacky process, but make as many friends as possible, get that work going, have something in hand to present to people, and if it doesn't work out with certain publishers, publish it yourself. Like it's so satisfying to get your stuff printed, and I feel horrible. I didn't want to bring up I wanted Eric to be the numbers guy, but. I hope the paper shortages clear up for you guys because it's looking crazy out there right now. The paper shortage. All right, any questions? Yes.
For young artists starting out, because I know you guys were probably there at one point where you just hit a plateau, you have all these ideas, you want to keep going, and you just hit a plateau where you don't know. Like for example, like Storytime Animations, for example, I've hit a plateau. I don't know what to make. I've like it's not really art block. I have so many ideas. I just don't know where to start. I have all these ideas written out. I have all these different scripts written out. I just don't know which one to choose because I don't know. Like I know either one could be a flop or it could be a hit or miss. It's just overwhelming. What do you guys recommend at that point to the young?
Well, I mean, I get it. Like, there's so many instances where I was so jazzed about this one project, but then I'll draw something just crazy. I'll just get something weird, and I'll just everything else will go to the side. I can't really counsel you on like which project you think you should put over the other, prioritizing which project. That's really impossible to judge. Whether or not you're considering what you think will be received well or popular in the industry, or what you're just super jazzed to do. You know, like forget it if everybody else likes it or not. I wish I could. I'll have to think about that one for a little bit because
it's more like when you hit a plateau. Like what do you do in the meantime? Like what do you do that you're just like, okay, I have all these projects. I'm just gonna stick to one. Like this is gonna be the one I'm gonna stick with, and then you have all these other ideas. Like what do you do at that point?
You actually did it right. I was just about to say, after all is said and done, just pick one.
Just
right?
pick one.
You have to pick one. And I know I'm cursed with the same kinds of things where you are, where I'm like, I'm one person, but I have 10 things that I want to do, right? And I think a lot of it, I was talking to my friends about this a couple of weeks ago, a lot of them don't take that next step, and I'm not saying this encompasses you at all. I think a lot of them don't want to take that next step because they fear that failure of picking the wrong thing. I don't know if that's you, but that's what they told me. And I said, but at least you'll know. You have to pick one. You're going to learn so much from that opportunity, from that space. You're going to learn so much from that exercise that the next one that you'll know what to side stuff. But if you're going to sit there and sort of like overanalyze the space, and this is coming from a guy who's done it multiple times, where I've just kind of put myself in a stasis because I couldn't choose, right? I didn't learn anything. And right now, early in your career, yeah, okay, potentially it could be successful, right? That's what I hope for you, right? But look at it as a learning opportunity, right? So without knowing anything, once you go into that space, the next time that you'll go, you'll be that much more confident because you've been there already. So pick one.
yeah, if you have a property where you have like most everything, if you have a cool logo, a cool name, if you're excited about it, you have to be excited about it. Honestly, yeah, if you have so much going on that it's preventing you from bringing anything towards completion, then yeah, you got to start prioritizing. But I want to really highlight, you have to have a cool name, a cool logo, cool character designs. You check off the top couple of things off your list and go with those. You know, like prioritize 2 or 3 of those things and focus on those. Yeah, but if anything's holding you up, just iron it out. Or what does it take to find a what? Oh.
Well, I mean, everybody who's currently active, of course, they have their own lives, they have their own projects that they're working with, and you never want to be, make a bad impression on somebody, trying to monopolize your time. But at least for me, the best way I've learned these kinds of things is through mentorship and, talking, having somebody to validate. But when
I think that's going to be, I've never really been familiar with like strict mentorship, but you got to make as many friends as possible because maybe you may never be able to go to just one person for most every bit of your questions, but like I just can't stress networking and making as many friends as possible. And it's hard to keep up with a lot of friends, at times, but like I don't have anything to say on mentorship. I've never really been a mentor or had like this.
There was something interesting that you said in regards to mentorship, because you said it's the way. I was about to ask why was that important to you, and you answered it. You said it's because it's the way that I learn how to do things. That's amazing. Now you're saying it's somewhat of an imposition whenever you ask somebody for a full-time mentorship. It's really difficult. So you have to deal with that reality. So instead, go back to the spirit of why you want that, right? And if there's any way that you can sort of like make the buckets a little bit smaller, so instead of saying like one mentor for everything, one mentor to rule them all, right? Just find one where you're like identifying, hey, that individual right there knows how to draw trees, whatever, something really silly, right? Or they know how to write really, really good characters. Now sometimes those two things can coincide in one creator, but oftentimes they're not. Right? So that way, once you make the buckets a little bit smaller, you don't have to make it about just the one person. You can actually identify who's strongest and the thing that you really, really wish to learn from, and then from there, reach out to them and see if there's any sort of like feedback or back and forth there. So it doesn't become such a daunting task, right? Because if you ask somebody, hey, can you teach me everything that you know? You got to kind of get this look on their face, like, right? But if you say, hey, can you teach me how you draw X or how you make panels? That's a small little ask. That's a manageable ask. Yeah.
You'll be so surprised and ask around. If you see a book that someone has printed and it's really nice, you like it, see if they'll tell you where they got it printed. You know, be like, did you get this printed locally or out of state or something like that? Ask around. You'd be so surprised what you can get printed in your neighborhood. Like right around. I get so much printed, even like staple bound books, sketchbooks that all have paid and stuff like that. We just got like 1 or 2 more minutes before they kick us out of here. Any other questions?